All right. Hello and good afternoon, Kansas. Hope everyone is having a great week so far. And we have so many organizations here today. It's amazing. And hopefully we're all able to use your Uber Eats and eat lunch while watching this. And let me know in the Q&A box what you're ordering for lunch. Right now, we're in California, so our team is getting salads for lunch. It's called the Good Salad, and you're able to create your own salad, I believe. I did something customized with a lot of different toppings, and they also have their own specials too. So I'm seeing somebody is having, it looks like I'm seeing a sandwich, Cobb salad, and I'm seeing pizza. And we also have someone is getting sushi. I love sashimi. All right. And before we get started, just wanted to do some housekeeping. So just let you know, I'll be following up with an email in the next few hours to provide the HRCI and shrimp credits if you need it. And if you have any questions today, feel free to check the question box and I'll get back to you as soon as possible as these questions will be saved. I may not be able to address them as soon as they come up, but at the end of the presentation or in the follow-up, I can answer them. And if you want any further information, feel free to respond to that follow-up email. And you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel and newsletter, and I'll have those links at the end. And we are also going to send a recording of the presentation you can share with your colleagues. All right. So today we're going to talk about Kansas nonprofits and unemployment. And before I get started, just wanted to do a quick intro of myself. My name is Janessa Ponko. I'm the Senior Member Development Representative here at 501c Services. I've been in business development for over 10 years, and I've been with 501c Services since July 2023. And there's a picture of a group of people bowling that includes me and some of our sales and marketing team members. Heidi is my manager in the middle. You might work with her in the future. And then we also have Evan on the right. He does our web development and marketing. And I'm really excited to be part of a team that's been helping nonprofits save time and money that can go towards furthering their mission. We're based in San Jose, California, so we're in the heart of the Silicon Valley, and we're dedicated to helping nonprofits reduce unemployment expenses across the nation. And thank you again for joining to learn more about cost-effective strategies and managing unemployment in your state. So we're going to provide a broad overview on how unemployment insurance works, alternatives for 501c3 nonprofits when it comes to unemployment, how reimbursing works. Then we're going to use some real life examples of nonprofits we've helped with our cost analysis, and then finally provide more information on our company 501c services and how many of our Kansas nonprofits have benefited from our services. First of all, I wanted to start off with a little history to put unemployment in perspective. So unemployment started in the US in the 1930s following the Great Depression and New Deal, where the federal government wanted to create a safety net for workers who lost their jobs through no fault of their own. In between 1930 to 1972, 501c3 organizations, they didn't pay into unemployment benefits for separated employees. Although this saved them money from paying such taxes, the employees that were laid off couldn't reap the benefits of that safety net that for-profit companies had provided. Now, fast forward to 1972, the federal government changed the law under the Social Security Act to where nonprofits, they're required to pay into unemployment, but they were given different options in how they pay so that tax wouldn't be seen as an unnecessary expense for them. Unemployment is also overseen on the federal level. However, each state gets to manage their own programs however they choose. So you'll see throughout the US different taxable wage bases, tax rates, and benefit amounts, but we're just going to cover information here in the state of Kansas. And when it comes to management, unemployment rates can be adjusted annually and are adjusted by experience. So let's say if you have a year or two of bad claims, your tax rate will increase. And then most states, including Kansas, runs as like a risk pool. So you're putting money into the state pool. And so what you're putting into that pool doesn't necessarily equate to what you're going to get out. And we are seeing more nonprofits put more money into the pool than what they're getting back in return. And these total tax liabilities by employers are often greater than the claims paid with reserves used in times of recession. And to multiply your tax liability, you multiply the taxable wage base by your employer tax rate. And we have a quiz. So take a guess on what a single claim can cost in the state of Kansas. Feel free to put your answers in the Q&A box. So I'm seeing 6,000. I have 5,800, 2,200, 4,475, 7,000. So just as a hint, the total cost is looking at the weekly benefit maximum multiplied by the maximum number of weeks someone can claim. So just to give you a little hint, the current maximum number of weeks in Kansas is at 16 weeks. And as just in case anything happens, it can change to 20 weeks if the employment rate is at least 5%, and then it can go up to 26 weeks if the unemployment rates are at least 6%. All right, I see 9,200, 11,700. I see one more guess, 6,680. So currently, the maximum of what a single person can claim in unemployment in the state of Kansas can cost $10,192. Just as a caveat, this is what an employer is charged for employee benefits by the state. So those extended benefits you saw during the recession and extra COVID payments, they were actually covered by the federal government. Oh, someone put 25,000. Awesome. Thank you for joining us for the quiz. All right. And so the maximum weekly benefit amount in Kansas is currently at $637. When we multiply that number by 16 is how we get that $10,192 for the maximum of what a single person can claim on unemployment. And then the federal government sets the taxable wage base at a minimum of $7,000, and there's no maximum. Currently, Kansas's taxable wage base for the year of 2026 is set at $15,100. So that means for the first $15,100 an employee earns, their organization gets taxed on that. And then the minimum tax rate is at 0%, maximum tax rate is at 6.95%, and those are both set by the state. The last thing I want to note is the improper payment rate, which is at 18.18% from the last slide. This equates to around over 600 or $69 million in overpayments to former employees who are collecting unemployment from the past 3 years. And here we get this information from the Department of Labor. And you can see Kansas is one of the many states with an error rate greater than 13%. And this is important to note as we really encourage you to look over your claims and make sure that you're not overpaying but for anyone's claims in your organization. And here at 501c Services, we help organizations monitor this. And if you are managing your unemployment claims on your own, you want to make sure that you're properly charged for a former employee's weekly benefit amount. And there are three different alternatives for unemployment. One is that you pay the state tax that we mentioned earlier with the tax rate that's set by the state and taxable wages. Another option is that you can self-insure or reimburse for your unemployment, where you're just paying dollar per dollar for your unemployment claims. So you're basically only paying for the benefits issued. And then the last option is insurance. It's kind of a hybrid of both, where it offers the savings of reimbursing while also providing a safety net. And just let you know, reimbursing is not for everyone. The qualifications we look at for considering reimbursing is that an organization must be a 501(c)(3) nonprofit. And then we recommend a gross annual payroll of $1 million or more, because typically if your payroll is under a million, especially significantly less than that number, what you're paying into the state tax pool is probably pretty minimal. So we might not see much significant savings by opting out. However, there may be some scenarios where you could see potential savings. So we're happy to look at your numbers, even if you're just slightly less than a million. And then we also look at a positive audit of the past 3 years. So that means in order for reimbursing to benefit you, we try to evaluate if what you paid each year in taxes exceeds what you're paying in actual claims. We also want to make sure that there isn't any major disruption in funding for the next 24 months. So we do recommend to stay with the state tax system if you know if you might have anything from like impending layoffs, reduction in workforce, losing funds, or closing programs where your tax rates may go up with experience. And then you'll probably want to wait once those claims decrease. And what it means to reimburse is that your tax rate turns to 0%, and then the state will bill you only for the unemployment claims you receive over the quarter. It's a great way for nonprofits to save money and be a better steward of donor dollars. The process is seamless for separate employees. No matter how your employees separated, they're still going to go through the same process for your unemployment department, where the state determines their benefit amount based on their base period pay. The only change is how that quarterly bill is calculated. So instead of paying the state unemployment insurance tax, you're now only responsible for charges your organization incurs. And we work with over 1,500 nonprofits across the nation, and we have several here in the state of Kansas. So you're probably wondering what motivates them to reimburse. In most cases, reimbursing saves money. On average, savings can be anywhere from 20 to 40% compared to paying into the state tax system. And this is really the driver for most organizations to switch. Reimbursing also eliminates any concern of changes in the state tax, such as those tax hikes you can't control. And you become a better steward of donor dollars as you're just paying for your actual claims and putting money into that state pool. Because unemployment is managed by the federal government, big picture, reimbursing is allowed in all 50 states, best with employers with over $1 million in gross annual payroll and at least 15 or more full-time employees. So if you're on the borderline of this, we can still certainly talk, as sometimes there may be circumstances where you can consider reimbursing for your organization. And if you are smaller and reimbursing already, we can still consider you for our services and how we can help you reduce your risk when it comes to managing claims. And there are a couple different strategies for reimbursing. The first is to manage your own program. And this can be risky with the highs and lows of unemployment. And you really need to make sure you have budget for these claims and make sure that your team is diligent with managing, auditing, protesting, and paying claims to reduce any kinds of risk and also prevent overpaying. And then the other option is to outsource, like using us, 501(c) services, to help with the administrative work and managing the challenges that can come with unemployment claims. And then we also have a trust we call 501(c) Agencies Trust, where you can put money aside. And then the third option is to purchase insurance. And here at 501, we do offer insurance programs. They are a little bit more expensive than the trust and offer different levels of protection. And now we're going to get into some examples. And I do want to talk about how the state tax is calculated. And we are going to go into a couple of examples of assessments we've done in the past. And the taxable wage base is customized by each state. So for Kansas, it's currently at $15,100. All employers in the state pay the same taxable wage base, and it represents that first $15,100 of an employee's earnings that get taxed. There's no maximum and can increase or decrease by any amount each year. And then the tax rate is set annually by the state and is based on experience. So to calculate your contribution amount, you multiply the taxable wage base by the tax rate. So for Kansas, it's that $15,100 times the range of 0% to 6.9%. This amount means that if each employee is making over $15,100, a company is paying in between $0 to over $1,000 per employee in unemployment. And what we do to get started on a cost analysis is that we look at your tax rate notice. And this document includes your tax rate that's highlighted on the top right. So for this example, it's at 5.07%. And it also includes 3 years of taxable wages. And then the notice also shows 1 year of claims and how this organization overpaid in 1 year. Typically, for us doing an analysis, we like to look at an average of 3 years of claims to confirm that 1 year overpayment isn't an anomaly. So if you ever want an assessment with us, we may ask for your tax rate notices from the past 3 years so we can get more data. And based on the information provided, we recommended for this nonprofit to reimburse, and then they eventually became part of our trust. Also, there's no need to understand every number on this document, for we can help you look at your numbers and see where you may potentially save. And then we have our next two examples. They're nonprofits that had significant overpayments, and they eventually became our members too. So this is a human services nonprofit we worked with. The taxable payroll was just shy of $1 million, tax rate at 4.7%, estimated claims only around $200 per year. And in this case, we looked at a 3-year average of claims. So they were overpaying by $45,000. And think of what you can do with an additional $45,000 for your organization. And here's another example of a SPCA we worked with. The taxable payroll was around $700,000, tax rate 3.38%, estimated annual claims around $5,900, estimated unemployment taxes were around $24,000, so they overpaid around $18,000. And a little bit more about 501c services. We were founded around 40 years ago by a former UCP executive. He was looking for ways to save money for his organization, so he came up with the idea of starting a trust. He teamed up with 25 nonprofit executive members in San Jose, California, to start the first kind of grantor trust called the Joint Unemployment Compensation Trust. It eventually became what is now known as 501c services. As I mentioned before, our trust is also called 501c Agencies Trust. And we've now grown to helping over 3,000 nonprofits in various ways. And then in 2016, John sold the company back to his employees. So we're currently now 100% employee owned. From our receptionist to the CEO, every member is committed to our company and serving our members. And our services are valued tremendously, with our company having over a 98% retention rate. And these are like a couple of testimonials our members have shared, and you can go back to these later, as I will also be attaching the slides in a PDF with the follow-up email. And here's a clip from our 40th anniversary celebration a few years ago. It includes testimonials from Anika Lund and Mike Hoffman from Start Early, Mary Sue and Michael Eady from CISC, Sandy Leota and Chris Marshall of Baltimore Center Stage, and Phyllis Austin and Jason Penniger from Boys and Girls Club of America.
What makes me passionate about working for a non-for-profit organization is because I knew I always wanted to work for a mission-driven organization.
Our mission is to work with immigrant communities so that they can achieve the American dream.
501 helps focus our service to the community by giving us more time.
501 helps us focus on serving our communities by providing services directly to our HR professionals.
The biggest benefit for working with 501 is really the transparency and ability to forecast our costs when it comes to our unemployment benefits.
They also keep our cash flow steady through claims that are sound and take a lot of the admin burden off of us so we can just stay on autopilot.
We're very grateful for all the support you provided over the last 4 decades, and we wish you continued success in the future.
Congratulations, 501, on your 40th anniversary. It's been a pleasure serving with you for the last 24 years.
And like I said earlier, we work with several Kansas nonprofits, and this is a quick snapshot of a few nonprofits here in the state and across the US that are members. And as you heard them say in the clip, we help nonprofits with alleviating the administrative burdens that can come with unemployment. The first way we help nonprofits is through claims management. Our team will help you manage, audit, and protest claims. So if you ever want to protest a claim, we offer unlimited access to hearing reps, and our team has an 80% average protest win rate. And you'll get a dedicated claims manager once you become a member of the trust. And then all of your claims will go through this online portal where you'll get notified that a claim has been filed. So you'll go into the portal to respond to the questions. And if you ever go on PTO and forget to delegate these kinds of unemployment tasks, it shouldn't be an issue for when a claim isn't responded to in several days, it gets escalated and handled. So a big part of our claims management is that our team doesn't want to see our organization overpay or get hit by those Kansas error rates. So we can audit those charges for you or prevent you from paying a claim when someone gets terminated. We want to make sure that you're managing your claims and also have enough support to do so. And our HR services includes 3 components. We offer access to unlimited HR consultations. They're a small dedicated team that can answer any of your HR related questions. So if you ever have an ongoing issue, you can develop rapport with the person who can support you and manage any of your questions. Our HR services also have educational trainings throughout the year that are HRCI and SHRM certified. And we also have an online knowledge library with our HR services. With the $637 maximum weekly benefits here in the state of Kansas, our goal is to help you keep that cost as low as possible. So if you ever have to lay someone off, we have a reemployment tool. It offers packages that can range from online coaching, interview techniques, and resume writing. And our reemployment services on average help former employees find a job 4 weeks faster compared to those that didn't use the tool. And it's never fun to let someone go, but at least you can give them the safety net and resources to help them secure a new job faster, which in return can also help your organization save more money. The protection is the insurance part of our program. Most of our members take our stop loss protection, which helps our members during catastrophic claims. And other than the catastrophic claims, for managing the general highs and lows of unemployment, we have the trust account. And this is a reserve account owned by your organization to help you save and pay for any potential claims. And so I hope this sparked your interest, and maybe some of you may want to manage your unemployment through us as a reimbursing employer. So if you want to look into potential savings, what I would need from you is your 941s or estimated payroll from 2024 to 2025 as a reimburser. And if you're paying into the state tax system, I would need a copy of your 2026 tax rate notice. And then your 2025 and 2024 tax rate notices would also be helpful for additional data points. And I do have a couple of questions that popped up that I'll go over. So the first question is, does it cost anything for these services? Yes, we have our trust administrative fees, and the pricing is based on the size of your payroll. So our service fees will also be included in that cost assessment. And let's see, the second question, we're already self-insuring, so they're reimbursing already on their own. They have over $1 million in payroll. Would it be worth it to join the trust or just say stay self-insured? And I don't understand how the trust works. Is it for smaller organizations? So we have members with payroll that ranges from less than 1 million all the way up to 100 million. And our services are here to mitigate the risk of reimbursing with our services like claims management. So we want to help you reduce the risks that can come with managing on your own. And we also have the reserve funds to help you budget for the highs and lows of unemployment. And then you can also benefit from our stop loss protection in case you ever have like a catastrophic claim. So we're happy to provide you with a quote if you want to assess if you want to stay self-insured or join our trust. We would just need your 4 quarters of 941. So the quarter Q3 2024 to Q2 2025. And this is another question. They're also reimbursing. Why is unemployment allowed for employees that have stolen from the company? So a former employee took money from the company and they have applied for unemployment. So without more details to this kind of scenario, it is hard to definitively answer the question, but typically unemployment benefits are given to former employees who lost their job through no fault of their own, as we mentioned. And so an employee that has been terminated shouldn't be receiving unemployment benefits. And they do still have the right, the terminated employee, to apply for benefits. It's up to you as an employer to protest. It's also possible that the former employee got another job and lost that job through no fault of their own. So let's say they started a new job, they worked from like January to March, they got laid off in March, and then there's this base period where unemployment bases their unemployment on the last 4 quarters that they worked. So if you were the employer they were working with in that base period, you would most likely be responsible for some part of their claims. And so in that case, they would qualify for unemployment. And then our services also help you manage your claims, and you can also protest with us if you need the support. We want to help you reduce your liability. And last year, as I mentioned, we had an over 80% average protest win rate. And we have one more question here. Why are some claims approved when a staff resigns? So we would need more like context and information to the scenario. If someone leaves your organization and gets another job but gets laid off, again with that base period. So if they take another job, that job lays them off, and you're in the base period, you may be responsible for a portion for their unemployment. And then there's also factors for unemployment that can allow a person to collect unemployment even if they resign. And sometimes it doesn't seem fair, but if you use our services, we can help make sure that you're not paying for claims unnecessarily. And we can also help you understand why some claims are approved. All right. I currently don't see any more questions. If you are typing, I'm going to stay on for another minute or so. And in the next few hours, I'll be sending up the follow-up email with the HRCI shroom credits, a copy of the slides, and just let me know if you have any questions. These are the links to the YouTube channel and newsletter sign up if you wanted to look into more information. This is my contact information, and I will be following up with everyone soon. Hope everyone has a great day. Thank you.